Okay, so I just found out that on my playoff predictor website, where I was predicting all the games, it did not um save my progress. So we're gonna be doing NFL Perry Pick'em here. We're gonna be predicting NFL teams. Starting off with the Arizona Cardinals. This one's a loss to the Chargers. Chargers is going to be a better team than them. Same with the Seahawks, Niners, Giants. Uh, all these teams here, honestly. They start off 0-10, 0-11. Um, you know, I think they go 0-13 to the bye week, and then they beat the Jets because the Jets suck. Um, and then Saints, Raiders. Yeah, I think they go 1-16. This team is terrible. Their schedule is hard. They're in one of the toughest divisions in football. And then you gotta play teams like the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Broncos, who aren't even in your division, the Lions, none of those guys are in your division either. And you're already playing the Seahawks twice a year, the Rams twice a year, and the 49ers twice a year. So now moving on to the Atlanta Falcons here. This one I got the Steelers taking in week 1. I'm not too supportive of this team here. I don't like this team. I don't really like this Atlanta Falcons team. Give the win to the Panthers here, win to my Packers, win to the Saints. And then I'm going to have them over the Ravens, lose to the Bears, lose to the Niners, over the Buccaneers, lose to the Bengals. I think that's pretty obvious. I think the Bengals are finally going to get healthy this year. They add Dexter Lawrence to the defense, so get the win to the Chiefs. They go 2-8 into the bye week. Coming off the bye week, they beat this Vikings team here. Get the win to the Lions. They beat the Cleveland Browns. They're sitting at 4-9, and then I think they beat the Commanders. So I think they start picking up steam here after the bye week. Now I'm probably gonna have some teams win, cause some teams win when I had them losing, and so let's just say I have the Commanders win against the Falcons. I'm not gonna be able to keep track of that really, which is my fault, but yeah. Here give me the Falcons over the Buccaneers again. So they're sitting at 6-9. Give me the Saints and the Panthers. So I think the Falcons this season go 6-11. Next, the Baltimore Ravens. Give the Colts the win in week 1. I think they beat the Saints. Cowboys beat them in week 3. They beat the Titans, beat the Falcons, beat the Browns. Why is it? Beat the Browns, lose to the Bengals. So sitting at 4-3, now at 500. Lose they dip under 500. They fall to 4-5. They beat the Chargers in week 10. Beat the Carolina Panthers and beat the Houston Texans heading into the bye week. They're sitting at 7-5. They're going to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, beat the Cleveland Browns, and this time beat the Cincinnati Bengals. I think they split the series with the Bengals and beat the Pittsburgh Steelers here. I think the Ravens have a bounce back year. Zay Flowers just got paid. They drafted some good wide receivers. Lamar Jackson, I think he's going to be healthy this year. He's going to be Lamar Jackson. You still got Derrick Henry on this team. This is still a very good football team. Next up, we got the Buffalo Bills. If it lets me, I don't know why, but my tablet's freezing up here. Next up, we got the Buffalo Bills. Win in week 1 over the Houston Texans. You got Josh Allen. Win over the Lions and over the Chargers. I think they lose to the Patriots here as well as the Rams. Then here they beat the Raiders. So they're sitting at 4-2 heading to the bye week here. They beat the Baltimore Ravens and the Minnesota Vikings and the New York Jets 7-2. And the Miami Dolphins, lose to the Kansas City Chiefs, beat the New England Patriots, so split the series with them, beat my Green Bay Packers, beat the Chicago Bears, lose to the Denver Broncos, divisional round rematch there, and then beat the Dolphins and the Jets. So 13-4 for the Bills. I think they're going to be once again have another good season here. Carolina Panthers is a weird team here. Looking at their schedule, I see some very winnable games here. So here I'm just going to say loss to the Bears, win, and loss. So you got to win over the Falcons, win over the Browns, and then lose to the Lions heading into the bye week. You're sitting at 2-2. Then you lose to the Eagles, have a bounce back game against the Buccaneers, beat my Packers, I think. And then here, I got them losing to the Broncos here, so they're sitting at 4-4. I think the Saints take this one at home. I think the Ravens take this one. Beat the Bucs, sweep the Bucs this season. I don't think the Buccaneers are going to be a good football team. This one here, gonna give them the win over the Vikings. I think they split the series with the Saints this year. Lose to the Bengals, beat the Steelers, lose, win. So 9-8 here for the Carolina Panthers. I see them being a little better than last year, but still right around 500 how they were last year. Now the Chicago Bears beat the Carolina Panthers in week 1, beat the Vikings, lose to the Eagles, beat the Jets, lose to my Packers, beat the Falcons, lose to the Patriots, beat the Seahawks in the beat the Rams, beat the Saints, beat the Lions, lose to the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars are going to be a really good team. I think Caleb Williams is going to throw for 4,000 yards this year in the Bears. First quarterback ever in Bears history. This Bears team is good, which, coming from a Packers fan, hurts for me to say, but I'm going to be realistic here with you guys. This Bears team is pretty good here. They beat the Dolphins, lose to the Bills, lose to my Packers, beat the Lions, and beat the Vikings. So I see this team going 11-6 again. I think Caleb Williams is going to be really good. So yeah. Here now we got the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals here beat the Buccaneers in week 1, lose to the Texans, beat the Steelers, lose to the Jags. So start off win, loss, and then beat the Dolphins heading into the bye week here. This one they beat the Ravens here, beat the Titans, beat the Falcons, lose to the Steelers here. I think this team, like I said, they added Dexter Lawrence. I like that move a lot for them. That they really needed help on that defense line. So they finally add a piece to their defense. I mean, and then this offense is explosive as always. Beat the Commanders, lose to the Saints. I think the Saints are going to be a very good football team with Tyler Shuck this year. Beat the Browns, lose to the Chiefs. Beat the Panthers, lose to the Colts, lose to the Ravens, and then beat the Browns. So I think 10-7 for the Cincinnati Bengals. Next up, we got the Cleveland Browns. They lose, win. So they start off 1-4 here. They lose to the Jaguars, Buccaneers, Panthers, and Steelers, then beat the Jets. Then lose to the Ravens, beat the Titans, beat the Steelers, lose to the Saints, lose to the Texans. So they're starting at 3-7. Then beat the Raiders at home, lose to the Bengals, beat the Falcons. So I think this is not going to be too bad of a year for the Browns here. I mean, their defense is going to be solid. I don't know about their offense, though. I mean, I'm a big fan of KC Concepcion. I don't know who their quarterback is going to be, though. So lose. lose. So they lose out from week 15 and finish 5-12. But still, I think a bigger leap than what they were last year. They were pretty bad last year. I mean, obviously 5-12 is not a good record, but yeah. Next up, we got the Dallas Cowboys. I think they win, lose here. So they start out 2-1. They beat the Giants and Commanders, lose to the Texans, beat the Buccaneers, beat my Green Bay Packers. Yeah, that one hurts. Lose to the Eagles, beat the Cardinals, lose to the Colts, beat the Niners, beat the Titans, beat the Eagles, lose to the Seahawks, lose to the Rams, lose to the Jags, lose to the to the Giants. I was blanking there. So now you're on a losing streak here. You're on a 4-game losing streak. You need to win this one to even have a chance at the playoffs. I do think they do that, and I think Cowboys finish 9-8. I think they're going to be better run than what they were last year. I mean, Dak Prescott, he's always going to be a good quarterback, and he obviously got CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. The only question on this team for me is the defense. Next up, we got the Denver Broncos. Can they repeat their Super Bowl run? They lose, win over the 49ers and the Chargers, lose to the Seahawks. So they start off 2-4. Not looking too good here. Then you got a game against the Cardinals, bounce back game. I think they split the series with the Chiefs here and beat the Carolina Panthers. So now they're back up to 5-4. They go on a 5-game winning streak. Make that a 6-game winning streak there. After the bye week. They went on a 3-game winning streak. I didn't see the loss to the Seahawks there. And then they beat the Steelers, beat the Dolphins, beat the Jets, beat the Raiders, beat the Buffalo Bills, who beat the Patriots and beat the Chargers. So 13-4 for this Broncos team. I think they get off to a rough start here. I don't like their early schedule here. I think their early schedule is pretty tough. But then once the season goes on, I think they start playing some more winnable games here. So 13-4 for the Denver Broncos. Next up, we got the Detroit Lions. Give them the win over the Saints. Lose to the Bills. Beat the Jets. Many teams are going to beat the Jets this season. And then here, beat the Panthers and beat the Cardinals. So they're 5-0 heading into the bye week. They lose to my Packers and the Vikings, but bounce back against the Lions, or against the Dolphins, lose to the Patriots, beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, lose to the Chicago Bears, beat the Falcons, beat the Titans, beat the Minnesota Vikings, beat the Giants, and then lose out to the Bears and the Packers. So 11-6 for the Lions, bounce back season for them. Not as good as what they were, 14-3, 15-2, whatever they finished a couple years ago, but I still think 11-6 gets you into the playoffs there. Now my Green Bay Packers record prediction. Here we go. Win against the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, the Vikings are going to be a better team this season, but for me, the Packers are just going to be better, in my opinion. We got Tucker Kraft returning. Micah Parsons, he's going to be out for a little bit, but yeah. Win against the Jets and the Falcons. These are two teams that I don't think are going to be good. And another team I don't think is going to be good is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So we start 4-0. We beat the Chicago Bears and then lose to the Dallas Cowboys, who hand us our first loss of the season. Then we beat the Detroit Lions, lose to the Panthers. We always have a bad loss sometime. So I think that's the one that I'm going to calculate in there, a loss to the Carolina Panthers. And then lost to the Patriots also. Beat the Minnesota Vikings. Lose to the LA Rams after the bye week. The Rams are just going to be a dominant team. I don't see the Rams losing many games this season at all. Next up, I think we lose to the Saints. So now we're sitting at 7-5. We got to play the Buffalo Bills here. Micah Parsons will be back by this time. I think we lose to the Bills here, but then we go on a winning streak here. 2-game winning streak. We beat the Dolphins and the Bears, lose to the Texans, and lose to the Lions. So we finish 9-8. Or no, win against the Lions because I had the Lions losing against us. So we finished 10-7. I think this is a pretty good record for us here. Micah Parsons isn't going to be ready for the start of the season, but we do get the return of Tucker Kraft. As long as this team stays healthy, I think we're going to be another good football team this year. Next up, the Houston Texans. This is a weird one because you got C.J. Stroud as your quarterback, but you got one of the best defenses in the league. But I still do not see them beating the Bills in Week 1 or the Bengals in Week 2. But I do see them beating the Colts and the Cowboys in Weeks 3 and 4. Then I have them winning against the Titans, losing to the Jaguars. And then here, I got them beating the Giants into the bye week here. They lose to the Chargers, beat the Browns, lose to the Colts here. I think they split the series with the Colts. Lose to the Ravens, and then beat the Steelers and the Commanders. Lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars, as well as the Eagles. Beat my Green Bay Packers and the Titans, and they finished 9-8. So I think they take a step back from last year just because all the problems with C.J. Stroud. But I still do think this team will be a playoff contender. Next up, we got the Indianapolis Colts with Indiana Jones back. Will they have another miracle run? I think they start off slow here with 3 losses in a row. And then here they win. So they start 3-3. So they have wins over the Commanders, Steelers, and Titans. I think they lose again to the Vikings and the Jaguars, as well as the Dallas Cowboys. But they do beat the Dolphins and the Texans. Like I said, I think they split the series with the Texans. And they also beat the Giants before the Week 13 bye week, which I think is a pretty good bye week because that's later in the season where you're going to start getting worn out. Next, I got them losing to the Eagles, so they fall down to 6-7. But here, now they got some winnable games. They beat the Titans, lose to the Eagles, and then I think they beat the Browns and beat the Jaguars to sneak into the playoffs as the 7 seed here. And I think they win the tiebreaker over the Texans. So I think the Texans would miss the playoffs then, and then the Colts would sneak in with Indiana Jones. So 9-8 for the Indianapolis Colts. Next up, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like I said, I think this team is going to be really good this season. I got them winning their first. I got them heading 6-0 into the bye week. 7-0. Lose to the Ravens, but then bounce back, beat the Titans, beat the Giants and the Titans, lose to the Bears, beat the Steelers. So they're sitting at 11-2. And then beat the Texans, lose to the Cowboys, so 12-3. And then beat the Commanders and lose to the Indianapolis Colts. So 13-4 for this Jacksonville Jaguars team. I don't see them losing many games. I think they get off to a very, very hot start here. And then towards the end of the season is when they start losing a little more games. But still, 13-4 for this Jaguars team. I think they're going to... I love the talent on this team here. Josh Allen on the defense. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be good this year. His receivers, I expect to take a leap. And even when he didn't have good receiver play, look at the season he had. He was an MVP candidate, and they still made it to the playoffs and had a very good record. Next up, Kansas City Chiefs. Do they have a bounce-back year? I do have them winning their first 4 games into the bye week. Then they lose to the Chargers, Seahawks, and Broncos. So they fall to 4-3. They lose 3 games right after the bye week. But you have the Jets, Falcons, and Cardinals on your schedule. Lose to the Buffalo Bills. Lose to the Rams. Beat the Cincinnati Bengals. Lose to the Patriots as well as the 49ers. But you do beat the Chargers and the Las Vegas Raiders. So not as good as we were used to seeing the Chiefs, but I do think they have a bounce-back year from what they had last year. Next up after the Kansas City Chiefs is the Las Vegas Raiders with the Mendoza, the Mandalorian. But Kirk Cousins is starting week 1. I still think they beat the Dolphins. Lose. And then, week 4 against the Chiefs, they lose this one also. And then, they lose to the Patriots. So 1-4, 1-6 actually. And then here, I think they start picking up steam here. The Jets is going to be a turning point. And then, I think they got to get these 2 losses out of the way. So they're at 2-8, or these 3 losses. But then this is when I really think this team's going to start turning around here and turning a corner. So they advance to 3-9 heading into the bye week. After the bye week, I think they win, lose, win, lose. So I do think they get better after their bye week, but I just don't see them winning many games this season, even though they did get much better. 6-11 is still a 3-win improvement from what they were last year. I think you need to surround Fernando Mendoza with weapons, and then the teams on their schedule are pretty hard too. Okay, after the Raiders, we got the Chargers. Give the Chargers the win, loss, win. So, go on a winning streak, go on a losing streak, win heading into the bye week here. Now they're playing the Rams. Rams are going to be way too good here. And the Rams give them the win. And then here, win over the Texans as well as the Ravens. So now they're at 5-4. They beat the Jets, lose to the Patriots, beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as well as the Raiders. And then here, lose to the Niners, beat the Dolphins, lose to the Chiefs, and lose to the fucking Broncos. And 9-8 for the Los Angeles Chargers. And now the powerhouse of the league. There's a 95% chance Aaron Donald returns. You've been seeing a whole bunch of speculation, so I'm just going to predict this, that Aaron Donald is on this team. Win over the Niners, win over the Chargers, loss to the Broncos, actually, and then win over the Eagles, and lost to the Bills, and then this is when you really see them take off. Win against the Cardinals, win against the Raiders, win against the Chargers, win against the Commanders, win against the Cardinals again. Heading into the bye week, then they win against my Green Bay Packers, win against the Kansas City Chiefs, win against the 49ers, win against the Dallas Cowboys, lose to the Seahawks in Lumen Field, and then end out the season on 2 wins. So 14-3 for this Rams team here. They're gonna have some very, very winnable games here. They're gonna be the best team in the league by far, I think, this year. And then next up on our list here, we got the Miami Dolphins. This is a completely opposite team than the Los Angeles Rams. So they're gonna lose this one to the Raiders, lose this one to the Niners, as well as the Chiefs, the Vikings, and the Bengals, beat the Jets, lose to the Patriots, as well as the Lions and the Colts, and the Bills, beat the Jets again, lose to the Broncos, lose to the Bears, lose to the Packers, lose to the Chargers, Bills, And then I think the Patriots are going to be a good enough team where they can have their players benched at the end of the season. So I just got to give the Dolphins the win over the Patriots in Week 18 just because I don't think the Patriots players are going to be starting. So 3-14 for the 3-14 for the Miami Dolphins. After the Dolphins, who do we got next? We got the Minnesota Vikings. This team is going to be very interesting this year. You got Kyler Murray. Justin Jefferson gets a decent quarterback around him now. I do think they're going to start off with two rough losses here. To the Packers and the Bears. But then I do have them winning 3 games heading into the bye week here. Then they lose to the Colts, Lions, Bills, and Packers. So they're sitting at 3-6. They beat the 49ers, Seahawks, lose to the Panthers, lose to the Patriots as well. And then I think they lose to the Lions. And then they win out from here. So I do expect them to I think they're going to have a worse record than they did last year. But, well, actually, I'm going to give them the win over this Panthers team. So, 9-8 for the Minnesota Vikings. So, winning record with Kyler Murray under center. Next up, we got the New England Patriots. And then after this, I'll end the video. And then we'll do a part 2. And here I got them losing to the Seahawks, beating the Steelers, losing to the Jaguars, and beating the Bills, beating the Raiders, beating the Jets, beating the Bears, beating the Dolphins, beating my Packers, losing to the Lions, beating the Chargers after the bye week, losing to the Bills, losing to the Minnesota Vikings, and then beating the Kansas City Chiefs, beating the Jets, losing to the Broncos, but I don't think I just gotta have them lose this one give them the win over the Broncos here. But I'm gonna have them lose to the Dolphins here just because, like I said, I think this team is gonna be good enough where they can have their players benched in Week 18. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. See you in the next one. Bye!